All right, so with the recent announcement about Trump's federalizing of the Washington, D.C., taking back power, putting it under the federal government, we're going to take a look at what Trump had to say at his press conference at the White House today and just do a little bit of a insight on that, on what that whole situation is, and give my take on to what I think he's actually doing here with this.
We're here for a very serious purpose, very serious purpose. Something's out of control, but we're going to put it in control very quickly, like we did on the southern border. I'm announcing a historic action to rescue our nation's capital from crime, bloodshed, bedlam, and squalor, and worse. This is Liberation Day in D.C., and we're going to take our capital back. We're taking it back. Under the authorities vested in me as the President of the United States, I'm officially invoking Section 740 of the District of Columbia Home Rule Act. You know what that is? And placing the D.C. Metropolitan Police Department under direct federal control. And you'll be meeting the people that will be directly involved with that. But they're tough, and they know what's happening. They've done it before. In addition, I'm deploying the National Guard to help reestablish law, order, and public safety in Washington, D.C., and they're going to be allowed to do their job properly. And you people are victims of it, too. You know, you're reporters, and I understand a lot of you tend to be on the liberal side, but you don't want to get mugged and raped and shot and killed. And you all know people and friends of yours that happened. And so you can be anything you want, but you want to have safety in the streets. You want to be able to leave your apartment or your house where you live and feel safe and go into a store to buy a newspaper or buy something. And you don't have that now. The murder rate in Washington today is higher than that of Bogota, Colombia, Mexico City, some of the places that you hear about as being the worst places on earth, much higher. This is much higher. The number of car thefts has doubled over the past 5 years, and the number of carjackings has more than tripled. Murders in 2023 reached the highest rate probably ever. They say 25 years, but they don't know what that means because it just goes back 25 years. Can't be worse. Our capital city has been overtaken by violent gangs and bloodthirsty criminals, roving mobs of wild youth, drugged out maniacs and homeless people. And we're not going to let it happen anymore. We're not going to take it. Just like we did on our southern border. Nobody comes to our southern border anymore. 3 months in a row, we had zero. I don't know if that's right, but the people that do the work, it's a very liberal group of people, actually, and they actually said zero for the last 3 months. Nobody thought a thing like that was possible. And, when you take a look at numbers, I just saw some charts. These are different cities throughout the world. Red is, okay, the red is a place called Washington, D.C. Look at these. Baghdad we doubled up on Baghdad. Panama City, Brasilia, San Jose, Costa Rica, Bogota, Colombia, heavy drugs. Mexico City, I mentioned, Lima, Peru, all double and triple what they are. So do you want to live in places like that? I don't think so. I don't think so. And I think the people in this room, if you wrote correctly, you'd see, look at the kind of numbers we have. D.C., 41 per 100,000, number one that we can find anywhere in the world. Other cities are pretty bad, but they're not as bad as that. Is that where you want to live? The reporters of the world? Juvenile offenders and crimes against persons, as they say. It's getting worse. Not getting better, it's getting worse. And we had a recent indication. There was a story about a man who was just left. He quit because he was asked to do phony numbers on crime. And we're going to look into that. I think Pam is going to be looking into that. But he was asked by the city, I guess, that we don't want to show the real numbers. Let me do numbers so it looks like it's going down. Not going down. And under Biden, it was a disaster. And nobody did anything about it. We're going to do things about it like you wouldn't believe. Every American has a constitutional right to be able to access and petition their government in safety, and countless federal officials and employees likewise have the right to carry out their jobs in peace without being shot. As you know, I lost a very good person a while ago, was shot waiting for his wife. He was in the car. They robbed his car. They shot him. They killed him like it was nothing to it. She was walking to the car. It's a horror show. This issue directly impacts the functioning of the federal government and is a threat to America. Really, it's a threat to our country. We have other cities also that are bad, very bad. You look at Chicago, how bad it is. You look at Los Angeles, how bad it is. We have other cities that are very bad. New York has a problem. And then you have, of course, Baltimore and Oakland. We don't even mention that anymore. They're so far gone. We're not going to let it happen. We're not going to lose our cities over this. And this will go further. We're starting very strongly with D.C., and we're going to clean it up real quick, very quickly, as they say. Days ago, a former member of the DOJ staff was savagely beaten by a band of roving thugs after defending a young woman from an attempted carjacking. He was left dripping in blood. He thought he was dead, with a broken nose and concussion. Can't believe that he's alive. He can't believe it. In June, a 21-year-old congressional intern was tragically killed after being hit by a stray bullet in a drive-by shooting. A former Trump administration official named Mike Gill, fantastic person, was murdered last year in cold blood in a carjacking blocks away from the White House. We all knew him. Great person. Waiting for his wife as she was walking to the car. A Democrat congressman was also carjacked at gunpoint not far from the Capitol. And in 2023, an aide to Senator Rand Paul was stabbed in the chest and head by a demented lunatic as he walked down the street, just absolutely for no reason. Horrifically, last July 4th weekend, a 3-year-old girl was shot in the head and killed while sitting in a car near the Capitol. It's becoming a situation of complete and total lawlessness. And we're getting rid of the slums, too. We have slums here. We're getting rid of them. I know it's not politically correct. You'll say, oh, so terrible. No, we're getting rid of the slums where they live. Caravans of mass youth rampage through city streets at all times of the day. There are ATVs, motorbikes. They travel pretty well. Entire neighborhoods are now under emergency curfews. Just this past weekend, gunfire went through, and you saw that, the Navy Yard. I saw it this morning. They saw that they fought back against, see, they fight back until you knock the hell out of them, because it's the only language they understand. But they fought back against law enforcement last night. And they're not going to be fighting back long, because I've instructed them and told them whatever happens, they love to spit in the face of the police as the police are standing up there in uniform. They're standing and they're screaming at them an inch away from their face. And then they start spitting in their face. And I said, you tell them, you spit and we hit. And they can hit real hard. It's a disgusting thing. I've watched that for years, for 3-4 years. I've watched them. The police are standing, and they're told, don't do anything under any such, and you can see they want to get at it. And they're standing there, and people are spitting in their face, and they're not allowed to do anything. But now they are allowed to do whatever the hell they want. This dire public safety crisis stems directly from the abject failures of the city's local leadership. The radical left city council adopted no cash bail. By the way, every place in the country where you have no cash bail is a disaster. That's what started the problem in New York, and they don't change it. They don't want to change it. That's what started it in Chicago. I mean, bad politicians started it, bad leadership started it, but that was The one thing that's central: no cash bail. Somebody murders somebody and they're out on no cash bail before the day is out. We're going to end that in Chicago. We're going to change the statute. I spoke with Pam and Todd and everybody. We're going to change the statute, and I'm going to have to get the Republicans to vote because the Democrats are weak on crime, totally weak on crime.
All right, so there you have it. That wasn't the full video. He does go on to speak a little bit more, and then he lets a lot of the people that were up there with him, like Pam Bondi and Kash Patel, speak, about what they're doing, what their involvement is. But essentially, the idea is that they are, he's taking back his power from the District of Columbia as the president under the act, which we're going to take a look at in a moment. That section that he mentioned, Section 740. We'll take a look at that in a moment. And essentially, he is taking back the power from the DC government using the military force under emergency powers, through the National Guard and through whatever other means he sees fit to come in and take over what's going on with crime there. And right now, DC is actually like an occupied territory. It's occupied because the way that it runs a lot differently than any other location. So it's a district. It's not actually a state, which means that it's governed by not its own laws, but the way that it governs is separate from the states. And it puts it in a weird gray area where, certain things don't apply to it that apply to states, because they're under their own jurisdiction. And it's the only territory in the United States that has that special power, basically. And it was something that had started early on in the country, and then it changed a couple times throughout history. And eventually, the Home Rule Act was implemented in, I think, 1973, and that totally changed the way it's done. Essentially, unlike states where you have a governor and then you have a mayor and you have other people, Congress, things like that, people who work in those states on behalf of the people through government elected officials, you have those people, and there's a pecking order, and they have to follow the Constitution, and they have to follow the way that we do things by giving a certain amount of power to the state and then giving a certain amount of power to the federal government. In DC, it's a little different because it's a district, and you have a city council. You have a bunch of council members, which essentially is like a board of directors for a company. And they basically put bills through. They pass laws, and then they send it to the mayor, and the mayor either approves it or denies it, which they call a veto, and it goes into law. Now, Congress has the ability to interject whenever they want, but they never do because Congress lives in DC. Congress makes up the majority of the residents in DC, and so they have the right to do that, but it would be a battle because they all work there and they all live there. And so it would be very hard for them to be on the same page with that stuff. So a lot of the time, DC is acting on its own accord, and Congress doesn't ever, do anything about it. So when they put these laws through, they get passed if the mayor approves it. And in this situation, if Trump is president and you have the Republicans, this is going to be important for the midterms coming up because you have this area of the country acting on its own accord, and it's out of balance with the rest of the country. And you also have a lot of Democrats there that don't like Trump. They're, you know, running operations the way they want to, as though they're acting as if it's a corporation and it's outside of the bounds of the United States, the way that the union is set up. I think this move is more of a strategic long-term move to dismantle the corporation style that DC is run in that area. It's a move on Trump's part to sort of throw a monkey wrench in that, and also to probably, yes, clean up the streets and everything as well, but to remove that power and bring it back to the states and bring it back to the federal government on a federal level. So right now it looks like all he really did was reverse the power that the law enforcement was in DC's hands with the local DCPD, and instead put it back in the president's hand through emergency powers so that he could come in and take it over. But we'll take a quick look at this right now. It's probably just him cleaning up the streets first and getting DC in a better condition, but it might lead to a bigger thing. It might lead to him overall dismantling the corporation setup style that is DC and re um, distributing those sets of powers to the state that DC resides in so that they fall under the state's jurisdiction and have to be governed by the state's laws. Because DC doesn't have a governor, it doesn't have the typical pecking order of politicians that the other states have. It has, like I said, a council, a bunch of board members essentially, and a mayor, and that's really it. So it gives those people too much power, and the power is at a balance with the rest of the states, because with the rest of the states, you have Congress, you have the House of Representatives, and the Senate, you have the governor, and you have all these people who are coming in and out on different terms because they're all misaligned on purpose. That's done on purpose. A lot of people are trying to say, like, and they need to set in term limits and things like that. But there's a reason that the founders did all this is because everything fluctuates on an uneven, timetable, so that Senate gets elected one time, House of Representatives, governor, mayor, all these people are getting elected on different timelines, so that you don't have like a whole bunch of people come in and all of a sudden just across the board equally decide to change policy, change laws, do all kinds of things, there's always going to be some level of resistance because there's a holdover that's still in there that maybe is the opposition that is not going out anytime soon, and they're going to be there to hold up their progress from happening too fast. America was really designed in a way where passing laws was supposed to be a really slow process because it stops the politicians from changing the country too drastically and too quickly. Away from what it was originally, because that's a snowball effect, and that's a good thing. We want that. We want that slow process of things taking a long time, constantly being roadblocks in the way to make it hard for people to get things done. Because if you finally do get it to the finish line, the majority of the country wanted it, or at least is willing to accept it because their politicians who are their representatives have agreed this is what's best for the nation. So it looks like this is more of a long-term play. But we'll take a quick look at what the Home Rule Act says in that section, and then we'll wrap it up. So essentially, it's the emergency control of the police. It gives the President of the United States determines that special conditions of an emergency nature exist which require the use of the Metropolitan Police Force for federal purposes. He may direct the mayor to provide him, and the mayor shall provide such services of the Metropolitan Police Force as the president may deem necessary and appropriate. Also, he's allowed to bring in elements of the military to back up the police, and the National Guard is who he chose to go in there and do that. So essentially, that's what the emergency control of police is. That section 740 that he said right here. That's what he was referencing. In this document is the Home Rule Act. So essentially, that's what he did. He basically said, "I'm going to clean up DC, and I'm going to do it by bringing in the National Guard. We're going to do it quickly, and we're going to get it to be a place." Because also, too, I think I think there was a lot of resistance with they're probably harboring a lot of illegal aliens as well in DC to protect them from ICE because they're under their own jurisdiction, and they're looking to hold them over for the midterms so that they still have a bunch of people in the country to be able to help them swing some of the votes. So that's probably also another reason that he's doing this. And then on top of that, it's the corporation situation, the way that it's structured, dismantling that so that he could truly reverse a lot of what people have done to this country over the last 100 years, and a couple of other things as well. This seems like a long-term play for him. It doesn't just seem like he's going in and cleaning up the streets from homeless people. He's playing a strategic play to dismantle the power structure that exists in the District of Columbia and bring it back to the way it used to be, where the president was the supreme authority, and things were done on a federal level, then a state level, and of course, we the people are the center of all that. We are the government ourselves, the ultimate authority. And then we'll take a look at one more quick thing here. So it looks like the DC Police Union backs Trump's move to federalize the city's police. So the police are even in agreement with this. The police union is backing President Donald Trump's call to take federal control of Washington, D.C. due to rampant crime. And also, too, he said in the press conference, and then later on, some people attested to that as well. There are a lot of people who work in D.C., politicians, even news reporters who are always there. They have all, not all, some have said that they have been personally attacked, mugged, beaten up by the violent crime that goes on there, and it's allowed to continue to go on there in these type of cities. And if you look at some of the top cities this mirrors is New York City, LA, Chicago. There's a lot of crime in these areas. There's a lot of Democrat politicians that are purposely trying to destroy them, and they're running it like a crime organization where they're at the top and they don't care if the criminals run rampant on the people. All they care about is if they're okay. And you could see this even recently. I think the mayor of New York. He's the possibly soon to be mayor of New York, Mandami, that I spoke about in a previous video. He also recently hired security, I think personal security, even though he's saying he wants to defund the police. So a lot of these people, they're just lying to you. They don't care if you suffer, if you are affected by the crime, if you're murdered or raped or anything. They only care that they're protected, but they want to rule over you like an overlord, and the people are the peasants. And this is this, socialistic mindset, which is clearly run rampant in this country, especially with the politicians who are running the country and these areas even worse than the mafia used to run New York City and some of these major cities. At least there was balance with them to a point. These people really act like they are the overlords and the people are their slaves. But it looks like the police agree with Trump and they want this, which says a lot because you're having another law enforcement group come in and help you with your job, which takes away from you doing it. And they're still okay with the National Guard doing that. This goes to show you that the people really, this is a good move for the people and they want this. And that the only people that would be against this are the Democrat politicians because they want to see DC continue to be the hellhole that it is, essentially. Yeah, it looks like that's what he's doing. It looks like he's trying to take back the power from DC because that's one of the last uh, places in the country where there's a huge amount of collective power centralized in one area. And in order for him to continue to make the progress he's making and then also win a lot of additional seats in the midterms, he has to destroy those power structures along the way in all the major cities to stop the opposition and disperse it, divide and conquer. And it looks like that's what he's essentially looking to do with this. But this is just the first step in his plan, I think, to where he's going to bring the law enforcement in, clean it up, and you're probably going to see a lot of illegal immigrants start getting arrested by ICE in DC because they're being harbored there. That's just my guess. But we'll find out in the future if you see Tom Homan speak again and talk about DC and stuff like that, what's going on, or what the National Guard finds themselves. But this is just a quick take, short form, not a full podcast episode. Trying to do some of these you know, 15 to 30-minute videos where the algorithm YouTube's tends to like those type of, that type of length video. So hopefully this will, be a little bit of a different segment we do on the show where it's shorter clips than the podcast episodes, but longer clips than the short clips. So trying to just do some different things here and give takes on some, current breaking news and things like that. But that's it for this video. Stay tuned for the next full podcast episode coming out this week. All right, everybody, I just want to take a moment to promote my children's book. This is Little Boy Full of Love. That's me on the back. And this is a little sneak peek on the inside. It's a great book. It's a children's book. I actually wrote this for my son. And it's available right now on Amazon, Walmart, Barnes & Noble, Indigo, Bookshop.org, and a lot of other online platforms. But more importantly to me, it's actually available in a lot of bookstores throughout the country. You can find out which ones are closest to you on my Instagram page. We highly recommend that you shop local, buy from a local bookstore. So if you are looking to, get a children's book for you or anybody you know, or even with the holidays coming up, it's a great time to, buy a children's book as a gift. Definitely get it from a bookstore that's local to you. But if you absolutely can't get it from one of the bookstores that are currently carrying it right now, and we're in about 15 or 16 different states across the country, so it may actually be in your state, and it could even be local to you. But if you can't get it from the physical bookstore, check out our Amazon storefront. The book's available on there right now, and like I said, with the holidays coming up, you may want to do your Christmas or Hanukkah or holiday shopping early, and you can even order it from our Amazon storefront and ship it directly to whoever you're gifting it to. But it's available on those platforms, Amazon storefront and bookstores and other websites that I mentioned. But I want to take a moment here to look at the storefront just to give you an idea of some other stuff that we have available on there. These are products that we highly recommend. They are things that we use in our daily lives, and it's all organized by category. So it's a lot easier to, shop for the holidays and specifically for things that interest you, particular categories. Available right now, many different items on our storefront. If you can see here, 61 items just in women's apparel, fall decor, because right now we're in fall, 26 items, kitchen items, baking specifically, things for around the house, children's toys, even stuff for parties. If you're trying to save money on a party and throwing your own, occasion, you can even buy some cool gadgets here to help you, put on a better party. Health and wellness items here, even stuff for Christmas. And there's the book right there. So you can get it from the storefront. You can get it from the bookstores, like I mentioned. But it's available on all these different platforms. It's really easy to find and gift to somebody. Also, I want to show you the apparel shop, and these are some clothing items that we actually produced. So if you're looking to get some cool apparel items, shirts, hoodies, long sleeve, short sleeve, leggings, even accessories, cell phone cases, women's makeup bags, fanny packs, coffee mugs, all different types of stuff, even some, art, all different categories here, apparel, homeware, accessories, drinks, even digital items. It's all on this store, healthybodygoodssoul.com. Anything that pertains to you or somebody that you're looking to get a gift for the holidays. A lot of great designs on here, a lot of cool designs that we actually custom created. Stainless steel water bottles, especially now with the fall and winter. A lot of cool hoodies and long sleeve shirts. This is a really cool one, I think, for women. The original Be Your Soul apparel, that one's actually really popular. People tend to like that. This one's one of my favorites. The free shirt. It's the American flag and it says free and that says not property of the United States government. That one's pretty cool. Got all different types of tank tops, hoodies, long sleeve, short sleeve, tote bags, coffee mugs, even some items for kids, backpacks. So if you're the type that likes to, plan ahead, I would definitely recommend ordering from the Amazon storefront or the apparel shop within the next couple of weeks to get everything in time for the holidays. Use code SAVE15 on the apparel shop to save 15% off everything on the storefront. So order within the next week or two and you'll definitely have everything in time for the holidays. Definitely check out all the links to everything, the Amazon storefront, the book, and the apparel shop in my bio on all my platforms, Rumble, YouTube, Instagram, Spotify. But you can also find them in all the show notes for every episode that I post and get all your orders in time for the holidays. All right, that's it for this video. Don't forget to like, follow, subscribe, share, all that good stuff. It helps the channel continue to grow. And put in the comments things that you would like me to talk about and make videos on for the future. And I will definitely do my best to do that. Stay tuned for the next one.